Hello, welcome to Sunday Night Prime. I'm Father Andrew Apostoli, a member of the Franciscan Friars of the Renewal, and it's my pleasure to be your host for a very inspiring program. Before we get into that, let me remind you that if you have any questions or comments, suggestions for programs, please send your emails to sundaynightprime@EWTN.com. That's sundaynightprime@EWTN.com. Well, may the Lord give you his peace. You know, in our society today, we see what Pope St. John Paul II used to call the conflict between the culture of life and the culture of death. We see so much in the media and the newspapers and everything about the culture of death, the violence in the world, in the Middle East, terrible slaughters of people, people being put to death in such barbaric ways, and we have so much of that in our society today. And that's darkness, that's a spiritual darkness. But the culture of death must be overcome by the culture of life. That darkness, every now and then in the darkness, God sends us a great light. And I think the program you're going to see tonight is going to show a beautiful light shining through that darkness to dispel it. And as the old motto of the Christophers used to say, it is better to light one candle than to curse the darkness. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you a very special guest tonight. It's Dr. Elvira Paravicini, who prefers to just be simply called Elvira. Elvira, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Father. Thank you.
It's such a pleasure to have you here. And, you know, I had heard about you and the wonderful work you were doing as a neonatologist. Is that correct?
Perfect.
Okay. You began one of the first hospices for terminally newborn children in the New York area. You know, I'm sure you've got so much to share on this, but how and why did you begin your work? Maybe explaining that.
Sure. Well, as a neonatologist, which means a doctor who takes care of little babies just born, my mission is to save my baby's life. That's why I went to medical school. And so it's fascinating. My job is really great. An example that I always give is that I'm always in wonder, because when you go to a delivery room and you see mother, father, doctor, nurses, at a certain point, if you count the people, at a certain point when a baby is born, there is one more person there. So I'm so full of this wonder that I decided to use my knowledge as a doctor to save baby's life. And therefore, that was my mission. Then I realized that among many patients that I take care of, occasionally there are babies who are diagnosed before the birth or even immediately after birth with condition that we call life-limiting, meaning their life is going to be very, very short because medicine has not enough cure in order to make their life long and healthy. And therefore, I felt that as a neonatologist, I cannot abandon them. I need to take care of them. And therefore, I was, let's say, challenged by their presence. I encountered them. And so I developed a discipline, let's say, to take care of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, would you explain, could you describe your work then in that discipline? That's a wonderful thing, wonderful thing.
Sure. You know, I was very, very challenged because, as I said before, my desire is really to save baby's life. And when I meet these babies, I feel like I want to do more for them, okay? But there was a particular relationship with one of my patients who taught me how to live with hope and with professionality also, the relationship with these babies. And the story was about a little girl who was actually the daughter of my dear friends here in New York City. She was born very, very early, very, very sick. And just to make you understand how sick she was, I was at her bedside for 6 hours, trying new machine, devices, treatments, anything possible. And she was in between death and life for 6 hours. And I was so very invested because I love her parents. And so for me, it was very, very important to save her life. And I do remember that at a certain point, I thought, whatever I'm doing now, even all my knowledge or my experience, et cetera, is not going to be working if the one who decides for her to be alive doesn't want so. And so suddenly I realized that my mission as a doctor is to serve the one who gives life to babies. And therefore, I put all my professionality at service. Now, and this is true with babies that are saved, meaning babies that eventually go home with mom and dad and live a happy, healthy life. But it's true also for babies who live a few minutes. And this girl ended up making it, and she went home, and now she's a big girl. But my being at the service of the one who gives life to babies is makes me also free to serve life, short or long as it is.
Very important, isn't it? Just I forgot to mention that this program, the title of the program is Life is a Promise for Happiness. And that's an expression that you have used, Elvira, and it's so true, huh? That life, when you enjoy the gift of life, there's such beauty. I often think when you look at the face of a little baby, I always think of it as the closest you're going to see to the face of God in this world, I think. There's such an innocence, there's such a beauty there. And it's unfortunate that many people don't take the time to realize that and to protect that, Now, you call your work comfort care. What would that include?
Sure. The word comfort care has been used in medicine for many, many years. The problem here is that many people use comfort care to basically say, don't do anything for the patient, whether it's a newborn, whether it's an elderly person. So comfort care can be just a mask on not having medical plan, not do anything, and let the patients die alone.
Yes.
And in our field, let the baby die alone in a crib, okay? What I try to do over the course of these years is to qualify comfort. So for me, comfort for a baby is the satisfaction of original needs. What are the original needs for a little baby? First of all, they need to be welcome. And therefore, in order to welcoming a baby, we should assure bonding with the family, not only mom and dad, siblings, grandfather, grandmother, the rest of the family, and privacy. So we try to have a setting so then the whole family, even with many brothers and children, can share the life of this new baby. Second, the baby needs to be nice and warm. And therefore, we use very, very much kangaroo care, skin to skin, so the baby can stay on the mother breast. And also fathers do that sometimes. I had a very beautiful, beautiful story. I met a couple, this was several years ago. They were in mission in Brazil, and they had 2 children, healthy children there. And then they were expecting the 3rd child, and they discovered that this baby had a lot of malformation. And so they came back to the States to make sure in case the baby was born with problems, could be operated on, etc. They came to my hospital, and we realized that this baby had one of these life-limiting diseases. And so we were ready to do the comfort care because, they want to welcome this little baby. And this baby was also born very premature. They came in the middle of the night, and we were not even expecting that, and the baby weight was like 2 pounds, very, very small. And therefore, mom put the baby on the breast, and she kangarooed the baby, and she lived, this little baby lived for 12 hours, more or less, and mom and dad alternating in holding her, so then she could be warm and bonded with the family.
That's wonderful. Well, you can see that importance of that connection of the very embracing of the child, the warmth, you mentioned that welcoming that child. It's
Yes.
so important, isn't it?
Yes.
Parents don't realize how important it is to communicate. It actually communicates something. The child obviously can't think the way we think, But sense is something of a protection, a comfort, a joy, you know.
So much so, kangaroo care has been used also as a painkiller, because these babies in general, they don't really suffer. The way in which they die, they just slip away. But has been demonstrated even scientifically that if you hold the baby, if you talk in a very sweet manner to them, they are really much comfortable because they feel the presence of somebody else, and that we are made to be in a relationship, no?
That's right. And that's really love being communicated to them, isn't it? That's that most important ingredient, I guess, which becomes part of all of that. But the needs of that child to be welcomed, did you mention too that about suffering that hunger and thirst, and not to suffer that?
Yes. So we are also very attentive to feed these babies. You know, any baby, this is experience for anybody. Baby's crying, you give something to eat and they're happy. They need to have their tummy full. And so, well, it's sometimes difficult to address this because some of them, they have anomalies, they're very weak. But we also work with a feeding specialist, and she is super. She's basically invent new devices to feed babies. So we let the baby breastfeed, if the baby is able to do so, feed with a bottle. Or she give us special devices, so like droppers, so then the baby can be fed through that way. And also, this is another point that has been proved scientifically, that feeding and feeling the sweet in their mouth is a painkiller for babies. And so it's very, very, very important. Among the many, many cases that I met, we took care of a little boy with very, very severe brain malformation, and for what we know scientifically, his life should have been very, very short. Well, he ended up being home, supported with hospice, and basically day after day, week after week, month after month, this child is still alive and is now 1 year old. And mom and dad basically learn, with the help of this feeding specialist, how to feed him because his life is going on, and he's like actually thriving, you know, despite all expectation, which brings to me to another very important point, that these babies are born with terminally ill sickness. Terminally sickness.
Oh, terminal illness, I'm sorry, yes.
But we don't know the length of their life. Can be minutes, can be days, can be months. This child is up to 1 year. We have so many surprises.
Wow, that's terrific. It's, you know, so very, very important. And, you know, in those first years, I remember a little from my study in psychology, those first years of a human being's life lays a foundation for them in their sense of security, of being loved, you know, and that's why that comfort of the mother, the father, you know, your brothers and sisters, conveys that love to the child in an emotional way at first, but lays the foundation for them to have a sense of being loved and wanted, and you know, our sense of dignity of who we are it's rooted way back in those first days and months and years of our life. You know, so very, very important.
And if I can add just one thing, is that we really care about this bonding, that if occasionally parents cannot be there or don't want to be there, we hold those babies, because in our hospital, no baby dies alone in their crib.
Wow. That's very, very important. Thank you. That's a wonderful work, Elvira, that you're doing, and the people who are with you in that, you know. Well, we're coming toward the close of this first part of our program, but we do have a few minutes. Maybe you could just start on the, something on the, what kind of pregnancies then do you care for?
So these are babies with many, many diseases. As I said before, they make their life very short. For example, baby with missing their brain or missing the kidneys, or with genetic condition whose life, who makes their life really, really limited. We are talking about children with no possibility to be cured by what we know in medicine. Or babies who have been in intensive care unit for maybe weeks or months, at a certain point they become terminally ill. It's clear from a medical point of view that their life is going towards the end. And therefore, we do want for this baby to enjoy the love of the family, to have at least a piece of their life being embraced.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, Elvira, we're going to have to take a little break now. Please don't leave us. We've got so much more to share with you in this very inspiring program. Welcome back to Sunday Night Prime. I'm Father Andrew Apostoli, your host for today's program, and our very special guest, who is Dr. Elvira Paravicini, who simply likes to be called Elvira.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Elvira, you've been sharing so many beautiful things here. We were talking as we ended the first part of our program today about the kinds of pregnancies that you would be dealing with. Now, I imagine it's challenging, and how would you introduce comfort care to, let's say, the mother or the couple during a troubled pregnancy, even a terminal pregnancy? How do you do that?
Sure. So I'm part of a team which is called Prenatal Pediatrics, and part of this team are OBGYN, who actually introduced to me couples expecting babies with this kind of syndromes, as I mentioned before. So where there is a very short life expectancy. And I like to introduce myself to the family, very sincerely saying that, you know, I'm a neonatologist, so my mission is to save baby's life. Any kind of baby with any kind of disease is is going to be my patient. And so, as I would love to save a baby's life and send the baby home with mom and dad healthy and happy, sometimes this is not possible, but I do want to make the life of this baby the best possible. No? And so, first of all, after this introduction of myself, I ask mom and dad about the gestational age of the baby, if it's a boy, if it's a girl, do they have a name for this baby? So I try to communicate to them also that I really have a special interest for their baby. I mean, this is not faked. I really have that interest. You know, I'm their doctor already. And so we start a conversation focused on what we can do to serve the life of the baby, whether it's going to be long or short. And so, and it's amazing to me that, you know, those parents are usually really, really sad and probably destroyed by the bad news that they receive, because everybody is dreaming to have a healthy baby, right? Mm-hmm. And so I see how important is that I show to them my preference for their baby, because a parent cannot stand that there is somebody else who loves their babies more than them. And so they kind of follow me in my let's say, attention and preference for this little baby. Mm-hmm. I see that their hope is reopened towards the fact that, yes, there is a baby there, and even if in the worst scenario, the baby's life will be very short, but still, as I said to them all the time, before that, there is life. So we need to enjoy that life. We need to celebrate. We need to make a party. You know, and so I go over, depending how the case is, telling them, you know, how long I think the life will be, and make a plan from a medical point of view, but also from a point of view of their own family, focusing on what we can do of unique, you know, because if life is short, you want to do anything possible.
Yes. Well, you are actually almost giving them a sense of hope. As you said, they don't like to see someone else loving their child more than they do. So your love is really inspiring them, isn't it, to love their child more?
Yes.
and you give them the hope. Yes, we can do something for this child. And you know, when I work as the have been working as the postulator, vice postulator for the cause of Archbishop Fulton Sheen, and that means I was taking care of the miracle cases or potential miracle cases, and I had correspondence with two mothers who were pregnant, and they knew that their babies were diagnosed as having terminal illness, and you know, then they kept praying to Bishop Sheen for support and hope. They hoped for a miracle. They didn't get a miracle, but both of them brought that child full term. The child was born. Yeah. One lived for 1 hour. One lived for 2 hours. Ironically, the one who lived for 2 hours lived actually for 2 days, because the child was born at 11 o'clock at night and lived till 1 o'clock the next morning. That's so got 2 days, so to speak. And you know, they both were so appreciative of the fact that they were able to bring their child into the world, and there was a comfort to them. And I know you do that, don't you? What are the reactions then, or maybe we go back a little bit here, to the delivery and care of the baby once that baby is born? Don't you do kind of special something to support the whole family? Yeah.
So, well, first of all, I want to say that during this job, I really experienced that the heart of man is the same, whether, you know, whatever, you know, let's say ethnicity versus religion versus cultural background, because when it comes to a situation like this, every mom and dad really, you know, they want to celebrate their babies, no matter what. And so we try to make this possible. So we will be in the delivery room, myself as a doctor, and with maybe other young doctor. I like to teach also, so then they can see how to lead the comfort care. And so as soon as the baby is born, we right away want mom to hold the baby like you would do in any normal delivery, basically. In the meantime, with attentive eyes, we look at the baby just to, first of all, verify the diagnosis done prenatally. It's not unusual that the diagnosis can be slightly different, in a worse or in a better, or sometimes, rarely, radically different. So for, especially for professionals, it's very, very, very important to always double check the diagnosis made before, without disrupting the interaction in between the baby and the family. Then, you know, as time passes by, we then help mom maybe to breastfeed, maybe to do kangaroo care, take pictures, take movie. We also prepare the family and the siblings also, if there are, to get to that moment ready. For example, we had lately a couple who were delivering their baby number 9, I believe, and they lived 2.5 hours north than my hospital. And the baby has a special condition, and like the one I mentioned before, and so they wanted to be born in my hospital. And so we organized with the father and the grandparents, driving all the children down to the delivery room. So as soon as this baby was born, and this little girl lived for a very, very short time, all of them could be in the delivery room. Each one of them had a picture holding the little baby. We had picture all together. It was like a big party, you know, full of tears, full of sorrow, but really amazing. There were nurses present there who came afterwards to thank us, saying, we want to be part of this team. Because in the sorrow of the moment, of course, but there was such a beauty, you know, and always beauty is a sign of the mystery of God, no? When there is beauty, He's there.
Yes. And you know, those children, don't they, Doctor, they have a mission, you know. Their life is short, but their mission is, first of all, to bring love to their family. You know, if that family is open to welcoming that child, that child is a gift of love.
Yeah, definitely.
You know?
Definitely.
Yeah. And then the family, in turn, has the opportunity to bestow their love upon that child. So it's the child brings the love in the sense that they welcome the child, and then in turn, the family bestows their own love upon that child, welcoming them and so on. So, what are the reactions when you encourage these mothers and families to continue the pregnancy and give the child life? I'm sure you get some. You get, I'm sure, a lot of reaction, and I'm sure a lot of it is good.
Yeah. So, well, as I mentioned before, in my hospital, we take care of any kind of people of any ethnicity, religion, and everything. Mm-hmm. And so I have parents coming to the delivery room with a banner with the name of the baby.
Oh, yeah.
I have family coming with a cake, a birthday cake for the baby. For example, the sisters of a little boy who had a very short life came with a birthday cake because they said, well, that's the only possibility to celebrate his birthday. And I had also beautiful story, even from young parents that I would never bet they could react like this to the news that the babies they were carrying was supposed to have a short life. I want to tell you a story of a very young couple, I mean, basically two high school students who ended up, boyfriend and girlfriend, and the girl found herself pregnant with Siamese twins, which means twins sharing a part of their body. In that case, they were sharing the heart, and the heart was so malformed that was not possible even to possibly operate it on the babies when they're born. Given their age and the situation of the baby, this young couple was really, really, really pressured to terminate the pregnancy. But I do remember they were so, I don't know, sincere and simple. They said, well, these are our children. We want to see them. We want to hold them. And so they continue their pregnancy. Now, as happens sometimes when you have a pregnancy at a very young age, the mom developed very, very high blood pressure. And so the babies needed to be delivered prematurely, slightly premature. And I do remember the day of the delivery, I went to that delivery sad because all the people in the OR, operating room, were like complaining, I guess, this mother is crazy, she should have terminated the pregnancy, she's young, you know, this is unbelievable. Then I have a medical student, they want to take a picture of the baby. You know, those babies, they don't come very often.
Yeah, right.
But I was like, who is going to welcome these babies? You know, I mean, no, they're missing, all of them, they're missing what is happening here. So anyway, I was there, the babies were born, and there are two beautiful little girls, really nice looking, embraced, because they're united by the heart. And the father, this young little boy, was there. And he asked me, can I hold them? I said, of course. So I gave the baby to him. And the two babies were like sighing a little bit because they were dying, basically. And he was so tender. He was telling them, this is your daddy, don't worry, I'm here with you. And so it was so tender. And I told myself, maybe this guy is not a good student, but he's like an excellent father. Yeah. And then I turned, everybody was like moved, crying. They went to hold the father and the babies. And so also I was very impressed by the fact that the presence of those two little babies changed completely their position. 5 minutes before they were complaining, and now they are moved. They are embracing, they are, no? And so, you know, when something like this is really his presence, no? Yes. The beauty, the truth, and his presence. And so I was very, very grateful for this.
Wonderful, wonderful. And you know that, as you say, that young couple, too, had the courage to want to keep that child when people were complaining about that, you know, maybe thinking they're going to ruin their lives and so on. So many things are said to people today in troubled pregnancies, you know, and always thinking of a quick solution, you know, to do away with the child. But that's not the solution. The solution is that this is a child God gives, and we certainly have to be ready to receive that child, to love that child, for as long or short as that child may be here, you know. And but it's a sign of that great respect for life, for the dignity of each individual. And the parents, the brothers and sisters, the uncles and the aunts, the grandparents, all help to convey something, again, in an unconscious way to that child, that the child can sense it is loved. Well, Elvira, we're going to have to take another break now.
Okay.
We're going to be right back, so don't go away. We've got some more very interesting questions coming up. Welcome back to Sunday Night Prime. I'm Father Andrew Apostoli, your host for today's program, and our very special guest is Dr. Elvira Paravicini, who likes to be called Elvira. So our program is entitled, Life is a Promise for Happiness. And that's so true, because life is a natural gift. It's part of God's gift, you know, and when you go back to Genesis and you realize that on the first 5 days of creation, God said everything I made was good. But when he made man and woman, when he made us and our humanity, he said what he made was very good. So that brings much happiness. Elvira, we were talking about the mothers and fathers, the families, the reaction to your words. What about the reactions of other professionals to your work? I'm sure some appreciate, maybe some don't always appreciate, but I'm sure a lot of good is coming from this.
Yes. Well, I have to say that just for you to understand, I tell you a little bit the story, how actually concretely this program came about, because actually in 2006, being part of a team of doctors taking care of the care of pregnant women, one of our meetings, we had 2 women diagnosed with babies with life-limiting condition, and no professional present at that meeting knew what to do, because in general this woman would do a termination of pregnancy. And so in that meeting I said, well, if you want, I can follow this woman, I can talk to them, proposing the comfort care. Now at that time I had no idea what comfort care was. I just said something to say, you know, I am a neonatologist, my goal is save baby's life, so give it to me, I figure it out something. Mm-hmm. And so I started, so at that time in 2006, pretty much on my own, following these families, counseling prior to delivery, staying at the delivery, taking care of the baby afterwards. Obviously, it was a lot of work. Mm-hmm. But over the course of this year, just to you know, address your question, I had several nurses, social workers, other young doctors, basically coming to me and asking me, can I join you? Because what you're doing is so beautiful. And basically, it tells you that several people were really happy to do the same thing, to join me, and which make this program actually much better, more complete, multidisciplinary, and allows me maybe to take care a lot of the counseling and the medical part, while, you know, other people will take care of, you know, things like help with the funeral arrangement, for example, or get a baby crib or the baby's outfit if the family is poor, sure, or, you know, all kind of, or the memory of the baby. So we have, for example, a very young child life specialist. She does tridimensional plaster, and then she put in a frame of the hands and the feet of the baby. So the family can go home having a memory of the baby, which remains anyway in their heart, but to have, you know, the picture of the hands of the feet, the imprint, is such a beautiful thing for them to have. And so much so the brothers and the sisters, the siblings, are referring, this is, you know, this is our brother, this is a little sister. So that person remain, you know. So mainly I see appreciation. Also, I have to say, and this is true for everybody, also for me, you know, to face death is difficult.
Yes.
Because, for me as well, because we are made for life. And so it's difficult, it's tough. Every time I open a door, I know I'm going to go inside where a woman is delivering a baby who is going to have short life. I really need to, you know, breathe, you know, because it's hard, it's tough. Although every time then is an experience of beauty, of love, and I'm very, very, very grateful. But just to say that, for example, where I work, many doctors are really grateful that I do all of this, because it's not easy and not everybody will be available to do such a thing. And so I would say, and also I have people, every year I do a workshop in my hospital, me and my team, sharing our cases, also for teaching purposes. And we have people from all over the country coming. This year we had even midwife from Denmark coming to see what we're doing.
You had shared with me something about them. Could you remember the remark you made about their interest?
Yes. So these were a group of 4 midwives from Denmark, and basically what was their job was to deliver either babies die in utero or babies whose mother terminate the pregnancy and so just deliver the baby. And when they look on the internet and they saw what we are doing, they came all the way from Denmark because they felt that proposing to continue the pregnancy to the end and let the baby have their natural end of life is much more healthy, would be much more human in a sense. And so they came to know how is our program to kind of follow up in Denmark.
Well, that's great. Yeah. You know, it's something like what you're doing, Elvira, is so positive, but so little sensed in our society because it's so anti-life. You know, like the kind of just giving up, you know, in the face of that. You mentioned before there is sorrow, and certainly a young couple that are told that their child is a terminal child, that's a great sadness, you know, but it's different than the kind of sadness that would come if they themselves decided to terminate their pregnancy. That kind of sorrow is part of the human experience, you know, that we can sanctify. That a little child was born and doesn't live very long, but as we said earlier in the program, I remember when I spoke to those 2 ladies that were writing to me about their little babies, I told them that your child has a purpose. No one comes into this world without a mission, and it has to be appreciated. And the mission of those little children is fulfilled by the love that the family is willing to extend to them, you know, to welcome them. You kept saying that's the first thing you have to do. You have to welcome the child, want the child, and not be afraid or not be angry at God, but trying to see that in God's plan of creation, sometimes we were given long lives, you know. Methuselah, I forgot how many years he lived according to the Bible. But we're not all called to be Methuselah, thank God, I would say. But no matter how short a life is and how needy that child might be, again, there's the love, where that love is being called forth from our hearts, you know, and that's so very, very important. You know, maybe this is a good time to mention, Elvira, you were saying about you have that email address that they can contact you. Do you remember what that was right off?
Sure. It's called neocomfortcare@gmail.com.
Okay, neocomfortcare. Okay,
Yes.
at gmail.com.
Yes.
Very good, very good. You know, because I'm sure a lot of people want to know about this, and maybe people who might even be inspired to want to begin this work in their areas. You know, this EWTN goes all over the world, and you never know who's watching here.
Yes.
Might be saying, you know, that's just what we need. We need to put respect back into the gift of life.
Yeah.
You know?
And also, you know, this is something that I can share with you. During these years, I took care of these patients, these couples, let's say in my hospital, but I follow via telephone or Skype couples in the United States and even in Italy. Just this year, I follow 7 couples in Italy through Skype, helping them through the, you know, the comfort care process. So, and 3 centers, new centers were born there because of that. So anybody who needs help, support, families, please contact that email address.
Very good, because your work, again, not only do you give inspiration and hope to the mothers and the fathers and the family, but giving hope to and inspiration to others who may feel this same need, you know, that we have to do something to reverse the trend, to just terminate life when it's not convenient or beautiful, you know, with perfect health and so on. You know, you hear these stories of people who do that, or whether the child's eyes are blue or green, and they want one, they don't want the other. But every child is a gift of God, and that's what, you know, the message we have to send out to the world today, to encourage couples to receive that child. Didn't Jesus say, and you know, if you receive a child in my name, you receive me? You know, and I'm sure that couples' lives are enriched. And you know, when you meet those couples who may be waiting for years to adopt a child, you know, and there's a wanting on their part, but God has not given them that gift to bring a child into the world, you know. But we got a few more questions here, Elvira, we want to get to, okay? What do you counsel or encourage the mothers and fathers to do? Okay.
So as I mentioned before, I always enter the room of the counseling with my proposal. And as I said before, you know, I encourage them to be mother and father, basically, giving my proposal, because that's is unique. I mean, this is common to anybody. No, any choice anybody will do, you start from the desire to love that baby, and so my proposal to me is the most adequate, because it really allows mother and father to live their motherhood and fatherhood, and also for me as a professional, allows me to take care of the patient up to the day of their natural death. And so, which sometimes is not that short, as we said before. And so I think the proposal that I give to them is more adequate to, and I found, as I said before, any kind of person following that proposal, because it's direct to the heart of the human being, you know.
Yes, that's right. So it doesn't depend on the background.
Yeah.
You know, there's something comes forth from the heart. And what St. Paul said, that, you know, God has written his law in our hearts.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's that law of love, the natural law there of accepting the gift of life, especially as parents. Yeah. It's such a dignity, isn't it, for parents to cooperate with God in creating new life. You know, they're populating heaven. You know, without new life, you know, Jesus wants his kingdom to be filled. You know, I always love the words he said to Saint Faustina in his Revelation of the Divine Mercy, and he told her, make sure you copy down everything I tell you very carefully. He said, because I want a vast crowd in heaven to praise my mercy for all eternity. So this is part of that. So even the littlest ones that get there, you know, especially, I know for Catholics, if a child is baptized, you know, we always speak about having a saint in heaven. You know, we always would talk about that. Are you in touch with, how about after the child is born and maybe even has passed away? Are you in touch a lot with the families, the mothers, and so on?
Yeah. In fact, that's also the hardest moment, because during the delivery and the immediate, there are also so many things to do, so many people around, etc. And so those days are probably full. After a while, when mom and dad find themselves alone without that baby, that's the worst. And so we try to keep in touch with them. There are grieving centers. Some of them actually founded by mothers or fathers themselves who went through the same experience. And so they help each other. We try to do our best, you know, calling these families back, sharing the experience afterwards. We even started a study to make sure we are doing the right thing with them and with their babies. We're concerned that really, for whatever short or long life the baby had, was really comfortable. And therefore, we ask through a questionnaire these parents, do you think your baby was comfortable? Asking, you know, detailed questions about that. Because who better than a parent can evaluate if that baby was comfortable, because they love him or her, and so they are the best qualified for that. And we have receiving beautiful, beautiful answer for them. And you can tell that our program is really not just comfort for the little baby, but also comfort for them, because basically staying with them, aside to everything that we do, but just staying with them in a situation when a baby is dying in which they cannot bear alone.
Yes.
And so we try to, and with some family actually we develop friendship. We see each other for, like for example with this, one of the family I have in mind now, we met them when the little girl died about 8 years ago. And we're still in touch. Mom actually is very active in proposing a grieving center to other families. And what was special for this family was that they, at the time of the little girl when she died, they have two little boys, about 4 and 6 years old. And this little girl lived only for 4 hours. Now, last year, during my yearly workshop on comfort care that I organize every year in my hospital, I asked her to come and to give her a witness. Yes. And she told me that the two kids, now teenager, wanted to share their own experience. I keep in mind that this baby lived for only 4 hours. And so can you imagine how important was for them the presence of their sister, who is still very, very present in their life.
Isn't that beautiful? Yeah, they haven't forgotten. There's a bond. There's a bond of love. And even though it was a short life, it was still a life. And she was their sister.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I'm sure that they might have had a great pride in her, you know, being their little sister. Yeah. That's beautiful to hear. You know, that's developing a sensitivity of love that the world needs, you know. And if we're going to make the world a better place, we've got to fill it with a lot of love like that, you know. And that's wonderful. Elvira, we've got a few more questions we'd like to just touch on. Should we mention anything about the sorrow that families may touch? I know you kind of really touched a little bit on that already. I don't know if there's any more. The satisfaction that members have had holding the child, I guess just that example you just gave.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, of course, you know, it's a sorrow together with the happiness to be able to hold that child, meaning to be mother and father. And so the two go together, and in an environment in which we help each other, basically. Yeah. Yeah,
that's so very important. Now, a lot of people in your field, physicians, nurses, medical people, you know, is it possible for them to be like you in their, whatever their field of, you know, of medicine, to have this well, the passion that you have for the patient. You kept saying that it's the patient we have to deal with first. What would you suggest? I know you mentioned about that conference.
Yeah. Well, there are, I mean, I'm not the only one, obviously, who live the medical profession this way. And as a matter of fact, I have friends, doctors, nurses, through the United States, and we started in 2009 proposing a yearly conference called the Med Conference. So we meet every year towards the end of October, and we share how our profession of medicine is really centered on the person on the patient as a person. And we invite students of medical and nursing school to come. We have a scholarship so they can come for free. But really at the core is a moment of beauty medicine, new devices, new treatment, and or clinical cases in which, but starting from the point that the patient is a person.
Right. And I'm sure, too, as you mentioned, when you come to that kind of a conference, you support each other. You reinforce this beautiful vision of seeing the beauty of this child. Well, Elvira, we're coming to the end of the program. By the way, was there a website on that?
You can go on the website www.medconference.org.
Okay, that's good. We'll put that on. Well, we've come to the end of a beautiful program because, you know, Mother Teresa, you know, she took care of so many little unwanted children and so on. And she used to say that we have to do something beautiful for God, and you are doing something beautiful for God. So we're going to close with a little prayer and blessing. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, may all people come to recognize that life is your gift, and that life is a promise for happiness for all of us. May that gift of life be respected more and more. And I ask you to bless Elvira and her wonderful work. And I bless all of you in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Well, we come to that part in the program now, Elvira, when we make a little appeal for support for EWTN. You know, it's a real gift of God. Mother Angelica stepped out with trust also in a different way, and, you know, and she knew that the message of God had to get out there, and she trusted, and you know, but like Bishop Sheehan used to say, if you believe the incredible, you end up doing the impossible. Well, she started EWTN, but she needs your prayers. The network needs your prayers and your financial support. Be as generous as you can, because in programs like we had today about the beauty of life, you know, can be heard by many people. They need to hear it today. God love you all. Amen.